Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This video is actually a very popular case that happened in the early 2000s. I was actually very little when this happened. All of it happened actually. And it's also, I have seen every one of my favorite true crime YouTubers do this video. And I love how they tell it. I just love the awareness of this video because of how little awareness there was in her life. So we're going to jump right into it, and remember to like the video, to subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you know when I make a new video. So we're actually going to jump right into it today, and today's case is about Susan Powell. She was a loving wife and a loving mother, or assuming a loving wife. She was actually a full-time broker at Wells Fargo and raised two little boys in West Valley City, Utah. However, Susan up and disappeared on December 6th of 2009, and almost immediately did police start to suspect her husband, Josh. So Susan Powell was actually born on October 16th of 1981 in Alamogordo, New Mexico, but she was raised in Puyallup, Washington. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that's what it looks like to me. And she was actually 18 years old and pursuing a career in cosmetology when she met her future husband, Josh, who was 25 at the time. Both of them were devout members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and were both enrolled in an Institute of Religion course for which Josh actually hosted a dinner for. And within days of knowing each other, Josh proposed to Susan. And about 6 months later, the couple got married at the LDS Portland, Oregon Temple on April 6th of 2001. They then moved in with Josh's father, Stephen, in the South Hill area of near Puyallup, where Susan actually suffered from her father-in-law's advances. Stephen would regularly steal her underwear, and he secretly filmed her for a year before confessing his obsession with his daughter-in-law in 2003. Soon after this, Susan and Josh moved to West Valley City in 2004, but what Susan at the time, and never probably knew, is that her husband had the same obsessive behavior as his father, with an ex-girlfriend, Catherine Terry Everett. And this ex-girlfriend had practically fled the state to break up with Josh over the phone due to his behavior, due to his obsessive behavior. But Susan was more focused on her career and her kids, and Josh actually was in between jobs all the time. But Susan gave birth to two sons, Charles and Braden, who were born in 2005 and 2008. But the family suffered from financial issues because Josh had lavish spending habits. And the marriage also suffered a lot when Josh sided with his father's obsession on Susan. Like, there's no issue with it, was basically what he was doing. And in 2007, Josh declared bankruptcy with more than $200,000 in debt. Susan wrote a secret will in 2008 that stated Josh was threatening to leave the country and sue if she divorced him. And on July 29th of 2008, she even recorded footage of property damage that Josh had caused around their home.
This is me, July 29th, 2008. It is 12:33 Mountain Time. Covering all my bases, making sure that if something happens to me or my family or all of us, that our assets are documented. Hope everything works out and we're all happy and live happily ever after as much as that's possible. Charlie.
On December 6th of 2009, Susan took her children to church. A neighbor who had dropped by that afternoon would actually be the last person outside of the Powell family to see Susan alive. The next morning, her and her children never turned up at the daycare that her kids went to, and the staff at the daycare failed to get through to Josh or Susan's phone. So, the daycare workers called Josh's mother and his sister to notify them of the children's absence, and Josh's mother then called the police. When West Valley City Police Detective Ellis Maxwell arrived at the house around 10 a.m., he noted that Susan's belongings were at the home. There were no signs of forced entry, and two fans were blowing at a wet spot on the carpet in the house. Josh actually returned at 5 p.m. the same day, claiming that he had taken the two children, the young boys, born in 2005 and 2008, camping, and the two young boys agreed with their father. Police searched his car, and they actually found Susan's phone, and the SIM card had been removed from her phone. And not only did they found her phone and its SIM card removed, they found shovels, tarps, gas canisters, and a generator. But Josh couldn't explain why he had his wife's phone in his car. But this didn't sway police. They found it odd that Josh took his kids camping on a school night during freezing temperatures. Keep in mind, it's December in Utah. I can't imagine what the temperatures are like. But without Susan's body ever being found, they couldn't file any charges against anyone in the family of Susan's disappearance. And on December 8th, 2 days later, Josh rented a car and drove 800 miles before returning it to the Salt Lake City airport on December 10th. But on December 9th, police found blood containing Susan's DNA on their carpet. And on December 15th, they found her handwritten documents in her safety deposit box. Susan actually wrote, I have been having extreme marital stress for 3 to 4 years now. For mine and my children's safety, I feel the need to have a paper trail. He has threatened to skip the country and told me if we divorced, there will be lawyers. And what's even creepier about this whole thing is the two boys actually ended up telling their teachers some very damning stuff. And so while the police are investigating their mother's disappearance, Charles, which is the older of the two boys, had told his teacher that his mother had actually gone camping with them, but she was dead. And then Brayden, the younger boy, drew a picture of 3 people in a minivan and told his teacher Mommy was in the trunk. And around the same time of all that happened with the kids, the police discovered that Josh had liquidated Susan's IRA. And almost very soon after this whole incident, Josh and the two boys moved back to live with Stephen, Josh's father. But in November of 2011, 2 years after Susan's disappearance, a search warrant was issued to search Stephen's home, and it revealed that he actually had CP and was arrested. This caused Josh to lose custody of his 2 children, and the boys were actually given to Susan's parents. Josh was then ordered to undergo a psychological evaluation in February of 2012, which included a polygraph. I couldn't find anything on if he passed that or not, so if you guys know, please let me know. But the same month that he was supposed to give a polygraph, and judging by how early on in February it was, I do not think that he even got to having the psychological evaluation or the polygraph. On February 5th, a social worker who would actually take the boys from Susan's parents to Josh's for a supervised visit, her name was Elizabeth Griffin, watched as the 2 boys walked in front of her into the house that Josh was staying in, and before she could even get through the door, Josh shut and locked her out of the house. While inside of the house alone with his children, while the social worker was outside calling 911, smelling the gas that he was pouring, she pulled her car away from the house, everything that was happening. Josh is inside alone in this house with his 2 children, his 2 very young children. He had an axe, and he took this axe and he hit his children in the head and neck. And once they were dead, he doused them in gasoline and set the house on fire, while him and his 2 boys were in the house. All the while, this social worker who was supposed to protect these boys and make sure that they were okay was outside on the phone with 911.
About the fire in the 8200 block of 188th Street, Courtney.
The house. And you think he might have done this intentionally?
Yes.
But this was premeditated. Josh had actually emailed his attorney before the kids had even showed up, saying, and the one single line email he sent, "I'm sorry, goodbye." So Josh's family was actually, or his father and brother were actually very much like suspects in the disappearance of Susan. So while Josh could never be prosecuted for his wife's disappearance or murder, his father was still in prison for the CP that he had, and he died of natural causes after being released from prison, so he didn't get prosecuted. And Josh's brother Michael, who people heavily believed he was involved in Susan's disappearance, jumped off of a building on February 11th of 2013. 2 years, or a year after his brother killed, after Michael killed himself a year after Josh killed him and his 2 children. he couldn't be prosecuted either. So the three people that people believe were very much involved in Susan's disappearance and murder, at this point people do not believe that she's alive or anything, are all dead. None of them can be prosecuted. And Susan's two boys that she loved so much are dead as well. And in July of 2020, Washington State awarded Susan's parents $98 million for negligence stemming from the deaths of their grandchildren. And to this day, Susan's body has never been found. Never. Nobody knows what happened to her. Nobody knows why or what happened to cause this to happen. And as sad as that is, maybe one day we'll know. Maybe something will pop up and we'll know what happened to her. But Josh is dead. And the two other people that they believe were involved in this somehow are dead as well. So we'll never hear it from their side of the story. But that is it for today's video. If you guys have anything that I missed on in this case, comment down below, and I'd love to hear your guys' comments when I miss something in a video. When I'm researching, a lot of times I'm skimming through things to make sure I've gotten everything, and if I don't have everything, you guys make sure I have it, so thank you for that. But thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, you guys can recommend a case as well. It's up on the screen as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. So, bye!